What if I told you that one of the most dominant forces in Formula One might be facing a challenge they've never encountered before? Yes, Red Bull Racing, a team that's been on top of the world for so long, may no longer find winning as easy as it once was. And the person feeling this pressure the most? None other than Max Verstappen himself. Recent comments from Red Bull's advisor Helmut Marko have shaken the team and its fans alike. He revealed that McLaren's sudden rise to dominance has introduced a new reality, one that even Verstappen is struggling to adapt to. But what exactly has gone wrong? Could Red Bull be on the verge of a major disappointment, or even worse, a complete fall from grace? With just 6 races left this season, the pressure is mounting. The once unstoppable Red Bull machine now faces fierce competition from McLaren, with Lando Norris leading the charge. In the most recent race in Singapore, Norris didn't just win, he completely outclassed Verstappen, finishing a staggering 21 seconds ahead after starting from pole position. That's a result no one expected, least of all Verstappen. So, how did McLaren turn the tables on Red Bull, and what does this mean for the rest of the season? Stay tuned, because this might just be the story of the year in Formula One. The fight isn't just about skill on the track, it's a battle of strategy, engineering, and adaptation. Red Bull's dominance is no longer a guarantee, and the stakes couldn't be higher. McLaren's resurgence has been nothing short of remarkable. In just 4 races since the summer break, they've managed to secure 3 victories, overtaking Red Bull in the championship standings. For a team that had struggled to find its footing in recent years, this sudden rise has been shocking. Meanwhile, Red Bull's performance has seen a dramatic drop. Verstappen, who had previously been unstoppable, now finds himself without a win in 8 races, his longest dry spell since 2020. What's even more concerning for Red Bull is the speed with which McLaren has adapted. Norris' win in Singapore wasn't just a fluke. He outpaced Verstappen by 21 seconds, showing that McLaren's upgrades are clearly working. Helmut Marko, in a candid conversation, admitted that McLaren's dominance is something completely new for the team. Even on medium tires, Norris was able to pull away from Verstappen, leaving the Red Bull camp scrambling for answers. Marko noted that even if Red Bull had optimized their car, it would have been difficult to match McLaren's pace. It's like we're competing in a different league, he said, highlighting how far ahead McLaren seems to be. And if that wasn't worrying enough, even Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was pushing close behind Norris, making it clear that Red Bull is not just fighting one team anymore, they're now up against multiple challengers. Despite the mounting pressure, Red Bull insists they're on the right track to turn things around. Their problems reached a critical low point during the Monza race, where Verstappen described his RB2 car as a monster battling severe balance issues. Even Helmut Marko agreed, acknowledging that Red Bull had gotten a lot wrong from strategy to pit stop timing. It was probably the worst race in recent memory. Marko admitted, adding that the team is now focused on expanding the car's operational window to suit Verstappen's driving style better. The problem Red Bull is facing, according to Marko, is that their car's performance is too sensitive to small changes. Variations in temperature, sometimes just 6 or 7 degrees, can significantly affect how the car handles. What Verstappen needs, he explained, is a machine with a much wider range of operation, one that can handle those subtle shifts without throwing off its balance. The team's goal now is to give Verstappen more speed, more control, and a car that's ready to attack. The next race in Austin will be a pivotal moment, as Red Bull sees it as a make or break point in their season. If they can't close the gap there after introducing the latest upgrades, the title chase might be lost. Last month, Red Bull made a subtle improvement with a redesigned floor in Baku, which helped Verstappen climb to 2nd place in Singapore. However, Marko is clear that this was just a small step, and much more needs to be done if they want to challenge McLaren's dominance. While Red Bull has made progress, Helmut Marko remains realistic. He emphasized that simply finishing 2nd in the final 6 races won't be enough for the team. Despite Verstappen leading the Drivers' Championship by a comfortable margin, the Constructors' title is far from secured. McLaren's double podium finish in Singapore has given them a significant 41-point lead over Red Bull. Marko admitted that closing this gap with their current performance will be a tough challenge, but he hasn't lost hope entirely. He's optimistic that if Verstappen can win at least 2 more races, and if Sergio Perez can consistently finish in 3rd or 4th, Red Bull's standing in the Constructors' Championship might improve. However, the primary focus, according to Marko, is on ensuring Verstappen secures the driver's title. It all depends on Max winning a few more races, he said, If we can do that, the rest might fall into place. Yet, it's clear that Marko isn't completely sure. The team's confidence is tempered by the reality of how far ahead McLaren currently is. Despite their improvements, Red Bull still feels like they're playing catch-up. The upcoming race in Austin will be crucial in determining if they've made enough progress or if McLaren's lead is simply too great to overcome. Red Bull's latest upgrades may bring them closer to McLaren, but catching up will require everything to go perfectly from here on out. Max Verstappen, despite the challenges, remains hopeful that the worst of Red Bull's season is behind them. He reflected on their struggles after a strong start to the year, particularly noting that the Monza race was likely the low point. Verstappen admitted that early on in the season, he was as surprised as anyone by how quickly things had gone wrong for Red Bull. The other teams, especially McLaren, seemed to have found solutions that Red Bull didn't see coming. In his analysis, Verstappen believes that at some point, Red Bull went in the wrong direction with their car development, while teams like McLaren and Ferrari made steady progress. He's also been vocal about how the handling of his car has felt significantly different compared to last year's model. The front and rear of the car no longer seem connected, making the car difficult to control a major issue when competing against teams who are improving their own machines every week. During the car's unveiling in Milton Keynes last winter, Verstappen admitted he was surprised by the changes in the RB2's design. The drastic alterations to the car's concept have led many to wonder whether these shifts were a mistake in hindsight. Verstappen, however, is careful to point out that the car's outward appearance isn't the issue. The real problem seems to be more subtle, lying beneath the surface in the engineering choices that have created unexpected challenges for the team. One of the biggest challenges Red Bull has faced this season comes from the unintended consequences of their new floor design. Verstappen has mentioned that the car's floor, a crucial component in maintaining stability and performance, might be part of the reason they've struggled to keep up with McLaren and other top teams. This is not an issue unique to Red Bull. Teams like Mercedes and Ferrari have also had difficulties with the new ground effect regulations, which seem more complex than anticipated. Mercedes, for example, struggled for 2 years with their ground effect car before finding a solution. Ferrari, too, saw a return of the dreaded bouncing issue with their own floor upgrade in Barcelona. These examples highlight just how tricky it is to perfect these new floor designs under the current regulations. Even McLaren, despite their current dominance, has been cautious about introducing new changes, carefully analyzing every upgrade before deploying it. One of the major difficulties all teams face is linking the theoretical data from the wind tunnel to the car's actual behavior on track. In Red Bull's case, they are working with a wind tunnel that's considered outdated by modern standards, which could be contributing to their problems. While Red Bull has ambitious plans to build a new, state-of-the-art wind tunnel, Verstappen knows that for now, they have to work with what they have. He pointed out that their current wind tunnel had performed well enough in previous seasons, but it seems that this year's regulations have made things far more unpredictable. Despite these challenges, Verstappen remains cautiously optimistic. He acknowledged that while Red Bull's wind tunnel may be aging, it was still producing strong results until recently. Up until this season, it worked perfectly fine. Verstappen explained, emphasizing that the current issues aren't entirely due to the wind tunnel itself, but rather the complexities introduced by this year's regulations. He pointed out that even teams with newer, more advanced facilities have faced their own struggles this season, with only McLaren seeming to find consistent success. The challenge for Red Bull now is to fine-tune the delicate balance between their car's aerodynamics and how it performs on the track. Verstappen believes the team has already started making progress, citing improvements from the updated floor introduced in Baku. Although it hasn't been enough to return them to their former dominance, Verstappen is confident that this is the start of a much-needed solution. In Azerbaijan, Red Bull chose a less-than-ideal setup for Verstappen's car, making it difficult to fully assess the potential of the new floor. But in the following races, Sergio Perez was able to challenge for podiums, a sign that things were slowly improving. Verstappen's second-place finish in Singapore was another step in the right direction, even though he still finished well behind Lando Norris. The fact that Red Bull managed to secure second place on what had been their worst-performing circuit of the year was encouraging for the team. Red Bull hasn't revealed much about the details of the updates made to the car's underfloor, but Verstappen has faith that the tweaks made in Baku are just the beginning. It felt better, definitely a step forward, Verstappen noted after the race. However, he was quick to caution that such improvements take time. You can't turn around something this complex in just a couple of weeks, he explained. The team is now focused on gradual development, hoping that with each race, they'll be able to close the gap on McLaren and other competitors. The next real test for Red Bull will come at the United States Grand Prix in Austin. Red Bull is expected to bring another upgrade package to that race, and the effectiveness of these latest modifications will be crucial. The team knows that their newest improvements need to be both substantial and efficient if they are to challenge McLaren for race wins in the remaining rounds of the season. Verstappen is hopeful that the worst of their struggles are behind them, but the Monza race, where the team's performance was at its lowest, still looms large in their minds. The race in Austin could be a turning point, but even if Red Bull doesn't close the gap in time, this season has taught the team valuable lessons. They've faced adversity, seen what it takes to stay at the top, and now they're working hard to return even stronger. Helmut Marko has made it clear that while this year may not end the way they hoped, the focus is on long-term success, with eyes already set on the 2024 season. For the fans, the question remains, can Red Bull find their way back to the top? The upcoming races will provide the answer. But regardless of how this season ends, Red Bull's legacy in Formula One is far from over. Whether they come back fighting in the remaining races or shift focus to next year, one thing is certain: Red Bull isn't going down without a fight. So, what do you think? Can Red Bull bounce back in time, or has McLaren already secured their place as the new kings of the track? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to stay tuned as we witness how this epic battle unfolds in the final races of the season.